Tricia, who or what is Summerfruit New Zealand?
Okay, Summerfruit New Zealand is an incorporated society that looks after growers of cherries, apricots, nectarines, peaches and plums, and they're levy funded, and those funds are used for industry good issues. So a lot of R&D, research and development, a lot of government work, a lot of work with biosecurity and export markets, and then there's the New Zealand market, which I look after, which is domestic sales and all the things around growing and selling fruit on the domestic market.
So you spend a lot of time talking to wholesalers.
Yeah, I talk to Foodstuffs and Countdown, and then I talk to Tuners and Growers, Fresh Direct, MG Marketing and Tuners, Fresh Max. So they're all the wholesalers, and then I have very close relationships with growers. So it's growers who are paying me with the levy. So top of mind for me is that I'm always working for our growers.
For a 17-year-old in a supermarket, a lot of them don't know what the fruit is that's coming across the counter.
Exactly. Some of them don't know what a piece of the difference between a nectarine and a peach might be. So a number of years ago, 4 years ago, we put together a booklet called Know Your New Zealand Summer Fruit, and that was designed specifically for produce managers to educate them, and that was about letting them know the different colours and aspects of characteristics of a peach, for example. You know, white flesh, yellow flesh, whether they're juicy, whether they're freestone or clingstone. But the checkout operators themselves, a lot of that fruit is all coded at the retail level. It'll come up automatically what type of fruit that is.
Tricia, you're clutching some armbands. Tell me about those.
Three to 4 years ago, we embarked on a project called Harvest Assurance Tools, and we did a survey at a conference in Blenheim that told us that growers needed tools on orchards. And so we set up this project, which is funded for 3 years with AgMart, and it was all about what tools could we produce to help growers deliver a quality piece of tasty fruit for the consumer. And wristbands was one of that.
So they're sort of colour-coded.
So what we did, it was an interesting exercise where we started with rock paper. The first wristbands were made out of rock paper, but that never worked. And we looked around, we knew we wanted wristbands because the persimmon industry had looked to have a wristband for pickers of persimmons, which is one colour. So we adopted their secret, which is the silicone wristband, and I've spent 3 years out trialling them on orchards with growers and pickers and packers and seeing how they go. So we have a selection of colours for a number of different varieties that have been tried.
I'm just thinking, if you look at a peach, there's different varieties of different colours.
That's right. So one of the main triggers for harvest and picking fruit is the colour. So obviously the grower automatically knows when his block is ready for harvest. For a lot of identifiers for him is when they're inexperienced. A lot of them are really experienced, but the picker doesn't necessarily know what the right decision to do is when they're up in that tree alone.
So I mean, what size is one thing, but you're really just looking at colour, and perhaps is it balancing out the sugar?
These are designed specifically for colour, so nothing to do with sugar. So it's all about a picker wearing a wristband. They can wear them on both wrists, and they're alone up in the tree, and English might be a second language. They might be a backpacker travelling around New Zealand. They might be an RSE worker, and it gives them confidence in what to do for the boss. And it's a constant reminder.
And you've got some that you're still working on?
Yeah, so these colours that we've developed so far, we started with the Sundrop apricot because we grow that in both the North and the South Island, and we mastered that first in the first year to make sure that it was going to work before we looked to expand into nectarines and peaches and other varieties. And then this year coming up, we're looking to work with cherries more intensively. I was a bit thinly spread with cherries last year, so this year I've got a pretty intensive program planned for the cherry harvest.
Tell me, what's the uptake been like?
So the uptake with growers has been a little bit slow, to be honest. They've been complimentary in the last 3 years for those in the trial, and we also used our marketers to distribute them complimentary to growers, so they didn't pay for them and they could try them. But this year they're having to pay for them and fill out an order form, whereas a grower, he loves to drive a tractor and look after his orchard. But we do have a number of orders in. They'll be dispatched this week. They're just arriving, and then I'll be out and about and selling them at the orchard gate really.
What's the band made of?
They're made of silicone, so they're hard wearing, and what's really interesting about that is that a picker can wear one on each wrist and they can wear it for the harvest of a particular variety. So that I encourage the supervisors or the managers to say to the pickers, you don't have to lose this when you go home at night. You can shower in it, sleep in it, and come to work the next day and it's on your wrist. They're close fitting, so they don't get caught in the trees. I had one grower in Hawke's Bay who was a bit of a skeptic about the wristband and would it fade and what would it be like, and he wore it for a whole year, apart from one occasion where his wife insisted he take it off to go to a wedding. So he slept in it, showered in it, and I went back to him a year later and he couldn't believe that this wristband hadn't actually faded. You know, so they're actually hard wearing, they don't rip or tear or break, and they'll last a number of seasons for a grower.
And there must be a lot of benefits.
Yeah, the benefits, there's a number of benefits, not only for the consumer in terms of what they get in the fruit bowl, because our goal is to ensure there's a delicious piece of fruit that a consumer has in their fruit bowl, and then they'll repeat purchase. So the benefits for the picker is that they can please the boss. You know, they might not understand what he says and they nod their head and yes, they'll do that, but then they're alone up in a tree, so they've got this constant reference point of what to do. And there's a number of benefits for the growers, which is that the picker will then be encouraged to leave that underripe fruit on the tree, you know, and get it next time when it weighs more, so it's worth more, and also the colour is closer to the maturity level, best for the shopper.